सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। चैतन्यं सर्वगं सर्वं सर्वभूतगुहाशयम् यत्सर्वविषयातीतं तस्मै सर्वविदे नमः। Verse number 6. न प्रिया प्रिय इत्युक्तेः नादेहत्वं क्रियाफलम् देहयोगः क्रियाहेतुः तस्माद् विद्वान् क्रियास्त्यजेत्। So this discussion is with reference to whether a wise person also should continue to perform his duties, karma, which is the view of the Mimamsakas. And the Vedanta says that the Mimamsaka always points out Yavajyavam Agnihotram Juhodi. Their interpretation of the statement is that as long as one is alive, one should perform Agnihotradi Kartavya Karma, one's duties. Vedanta says there is an exception to that rule. Vedanta does accept that rule, but there is an exception. So, any given statement, who it is addressed to is important, not just a statement. So Mimamsaka will say that this statement that one should perform Agnihotradi karma as long as one is alive is applicable to everybody. Vedanta says it is applicable to an ignorant person, not to a wise person. And there was incompatibility of Brahmajnanam, knowing oneself as Brahman, and performing karma, which involves kartrutvam or doership, karma which also produces karma phala result, the incompatibility. So this has been a continuous theme in Bhashya, Shankara Bhashya, which may or may not be found relevant to us. But since he had to contend with the Mimamsakas, they were the strongest people at that time, and the people who had the greatest influence of Mimamsakas at that time. So perhaps people coming to Bhashyakara to listen to Vedanta also would have those samskaras. And the other people who are very influential Bauddhas, the Kshanika Vijnanins, the Shunyavadins, etc. Of course, now and then Sankhya also and Niyayika or Visheshika are also addressed. But here is the theme of contemplation upon the self. As to how Atma is totally free from any connection whatever with karma. Because the moment you connect Atma with karma, then there will be samsara. So not only that, the Brahma Jnanam and karma or kartavya are not, kartavya means the deliberate action performed in the sense of duty. Not karma in the terms of chestas or that can happen on their own. The duty cannot happen on its own, understand? Duty involves the sense that I must do that. And therefore, it must be a deliberate action, which is a proper response to a given situation, which involves a sense of individuality and a sense of doership. So that is not compatible to self-knowledge. That is what Bhashyakar wants to say. न प्रिया प्रिय इति युक्त है. So says here, ashariram bhava santam na priya priya sprushataha. Upanishad says that ashariram, one who has recognized Atma as a sharira, as unembodied, as unconnected to the body. Now this itself is very difficult to visualize and accept. That Atma or consciousness is not connected to the body. Because body is conscious. And Atma, the conscious, imparts consciousness to the body. It is a natural thing to believe, or to accept. Vedanta also says that it is because of Atma or consciousness that the body becomes sentient. But that does not require any sambandha. A sanyoga sambandha, samavaya sambandha is not required. There need not be a physical connection between Atma and body, or an inherent relation between Atma and body. So Vedanta's model is how the whole universe functions in presence of the sun, how the iron filings become active in presence of a magnet. So in presence of a self, this upadhi becomes active. And two, the potential of action is contained in upadhi, not in Atma. And therefore, the presence of Atma just invokes that potential in the upadhi. And therefore, the presence alone is enough for the body, mind, sense complex to perform function. But then, who will decide how the action is performed? Without Atma guiding or inspiring or commanding this body, mind, sense complex, how will it function? The Atma does not need to do that. The universal order, which is the physical order or the moral order, because this body mind is a part of the, material universe. So material order would guide it. We do not require consciousness to guide it. You require consciousness to enliven it. But then what exactly it does can be determined by the universal order, which itself functions in presence of consciousness. So there are two different sattas or realities as Vedanta. So one is the absolute reality, other is the vyavaharika satta, relative reality. This is unique with reference to Vedanta. which nobody ever conceived. And therefore, people's thinking involved always some defect on account of looking upon the universe also as real as the Atma. Ashariram vavasantam na priya priya sprushataha. Ashariram vavasantam, understand that Atma is asharira, unembodied, has no relation or connection with the body. Priya priya na sprushataha. Priya, apriya, dear, not dear, good, bad. So all these dvandva, the pairs of opposites, they affect this body, mind complex. Sharira includes both gross and subtle bodies. So influence that the priya or the universe has is only up to this body. Ashariram bhavasantam atma ashariram, and therefore na priya sprushataha. All this is a very big thing, for the people who never thought about this. Since we listen to this day in and day out, so to us it looks like an ordinary statement. It's not an ordinary statement for those who have never thought about this, or never exposed to this, that this can also be. Na adehatvam kriyaphalam. Therefore, adehatvam, ashariratvam, bodilessness doesn't have to be created. It is the nature of the self. Na kriyaphalam. So you do not, what you want is moksha. Of course, the Vedantin's definition of moksha is adehatvam. Meaning, moksha is understood as freedom from the cycle of birth and death. That happens when you become disconnected of the body. So people do all kinds of things to remove the connection. So there is no connection. So Vedantins, all that you need to do is to recognize that there is no connection. That's all. That's called knowledge. Adehatvam na kriyaphalam. Therefore, the state of bodilessness, freedom from body, is na kriyaphalam, is not a result of kriya or action, because it is an existing fact. Deha yoga kriya hetu. What does kriya do? What does action do? Deha yoga. Action creates karma phala, result, which perpetuates the cycle of birth and death, and therefore deha yoga kriya hetu. Kriya is hetu for deha yoga. Tasmad vidwan kriyas tyajet. So Vashyakara says, therefore vidwan or a wise person should give up all the duties, all deliberate actions. Why is it so? Because that deliberatedness is opposed to the self-knowledge. You cannot simultaneously think about yourself, think of yourself as unembodied, and then also perform deliberate actions. These two things are not comparable. So these verses are given to us for contemplation upon the self. Atma ityava upasita. One should contemplate upon oneself as Atma. So all this is, you can say, elaboration upon that, statement. Tasmad vidwan kriyast. Therefore, vidwan should give up all deliberate action. Then only he can contemplate on Atma, who is unconnected to anything related to karma. The next verse is Karma swatma swatantraschet nivruttau cha tatheshyadam adehatve phale karye ज्ञाते कुर्यात् कथं क्रियाः. Karmasu atma swatantraschet. When you say that you should perform action, that shows that you have freedom to perform action. When you are instructed, when you instruct somebody to do something, that instruction will be meaningful or effective provided that person has the freedom to do that. But if you tell somebody who doesn't know, tell this servant, do a given thing, I don't know, and never done it, means he's not qualified to do that. So if you give instruction to somebody to do something for which the person is not qualified, like you walk in the air, which I can't do, therefore the adesha or command of action called vidhi should be only for the person who is competent to do that. So karmasu atma swatantraschet. If you are accepting that Atma performs karma, and therefore he is enjoying the karma, that means that Atma is swatantraha, independent with reference to performance of karma. Nivrittau cha tatheshadam. Then you should also accept that Atma is swatantraha, free or independent to give up the karma also. If one is free or independent in determining what to do, then one should also be accepted as independent in determining what not to do. If Atma is accepted as independent in performing karma, then Atma should also be accepted as independent in giving up the karma. So that means that one has the freedom. You cannot say you do not have freedom to give up karma. Veda says that yavat jivam, but that statement cannot mean that you don't have freedom to give up karma. Because if you attain a state when you are not competent to perform karma, then you won't do them. So Vedantin says that self-knowledge creates a condition when you find yourself incompetent to perform the karma. Your satrutva is not there, and therefore you should have freedom to give up the karma also. Adehatve phale karye jnate. Adehatvam again. Adehatvam, the freedom from the body, is phale akarya jnate. When you know the nature of the Atma, that adehatva is not phalam, is the nature of Atma, jnate, when this nature of Atma, that it is adeha, the bodiless, unembodied. Therefore, that state of bodilessness is not to be accomplished by karma. When you know this, you already are adeha, asharira, already are free. Kuryat katham kriyaha. When you know that you already accomplished what you are seeking, then what is the point in performing karma? What accomplished what? So teacher is telling how karma, meaning a deliberate action, is incompatible to the nature of the knowledge, the self is Brahman. Tabi prayojan abhavadityarha, because there is no prayojanam, purpose to serve by performing this duty or deliberate action. Now continuing with the next verse, number 8. I have this page 222. Kim kriya parityagamatena akaryam vedehe kaivalyam prapyate. So you keep on saying that the wise person should not perform karma, should not perform karma. no point in performing karma. Are you saying that kriya parityaga matrena, that by simply giving up all the kriya, by simply giving up all your kartavya, akaryam videhi kaivalyam prapyate, you attain the videhi kaivalyam, you attain the absolute freedom which is akaryam, which is not the result of karma. So adehatvam, or the state of freedom from the embodiedness, which is the freedom from also the cycle of birth and death. Being the nature of Atma, that was not akaryam, it's not result of karya. Does it mean that then I should give up the actions, then I will become, I'll recognize unembodiedness? Kriya parityaga matrena na karmanam anarambhat naishkarmyam purushosnute nacha sanyasanadeva siddhim samadhigacchati na karmanam. So by karmanam parityaga, merely giving up karma, one does not attain naishkarmya. Nor by becoming just a renunciate that he become liberated. It was knowledge. So knowledge is not result of karma, nor is knowledge result of giving up karma also, understand. So that question is raised, Kim kriya parityaga matrena. Is that merely by renouncing or giving up all the karma or the duties? Akaryam videhi kaivalyam prapyate. That one attains videhi kaivalyam. Videhi kaivalyam is a state of bodilessness, which akaryam, which is not a result of karma, which is a swarupa. Do you attain that by simply giving up the karma? Because kuryat katham kriya. Earlier we said, how can one perform the karma knowing Atma as akarya, adeha rather? So Vidwan, how can Vidwan, wise person, perform karma knowing Atma to be adeha? Does it mean that he becomes adeha by giving up karma? So what was said earlier verse would reason, bring about this question. No, not that. It is not, Atma is not connected with karma, nor connected with the giving up the karma also. Jatyadin samparityajya nimittam karmanam buddha karma hetu viruddham yata Swarupam shastrata smaret. Jatyadin nimittam karmanam nimittam jatyadin parityajya buddha. Buddha, what a wise person should do, or a viveki should do, is karmanam nimittam. Is not giving up karma, giving up nimitta of karma. Not giving up karma, but that which causes karma, which makes you perform the karma. What is it? Jatyadin. The jati, that I am a Brahmana, etc., is abhimanam, that in fact is what causes you to perform karma. Therefore, parityaja, that is what is to be given up. Not karma, not by giving him karma. See, very brilliantly it is stated, not by giving him karma. Jatyadin, those which are the reason for karma. Give up karma and jatyadi is retained, then you still remain, connected to karma by not doing it. Karma hetu viruddham yat swarum shastrata smaran, then you should contemplate upon the self, of which the swarupa is karma viruddham. Karma hetu viruddham, not karma viruddham. Atma is not karma viruddha. Karma hetu viruddha. Atma is opposed to the reason for karma. So, how nicely and simply this is stated. Sri Tika says, Buddha Pandita Buddhiman. So he will be talking about a Viveki or a discriminating person, Buddhiman, an intelligent person, who understands things, Atma, Anatma, Viveka, understands the nature. Karmanam nimittam parityajya. Not karma. Karmanam nimittam. Nimitta bhutan jatyadin samparityajya. In jatyadi, which is the karma nimittam, the cause of karma, that is to be given up. What is meant by jatyadi? Says jatyadi abhimanam parityajya. So notion about oneself. Jatyadi brahmanoham. Because when the Vedas enjoin karma, they enjoin karma not for Atma alone, but Atma who is Abhimanam identified with Jatyadi. Vasante Brahmana Agnin Adadhita. That's what the Vedas would say. Vasante, when the Vasanta, spring season comes, Brahmana Agnin Adadhita, that's when the Brahmana should, you pile up the Agni and perform the Homa. So therefore Brahmanatva Jati becomes a nimitta. Brahmano Agnin Adadita, that varies for Brahmana, meaning one who looks upon oneself as Brahmana, one who has the identification with the Brahmana Jati, Brahmanatva, I am a Brahmana, the Abhimana, the notion about oneself, which arises from the identification of Upadi, which is where Brahmanatva means. So Brahmanatvam, Brahmananess is not in Atma. Brahmananess is in the Upadhi. That's an example. That is just an example here. It stands for. So Jati and then Vaya and then Avastha. So many things are involved. What age you have, in what state of life you are, what caste you belong to. Huh? No. Here for karma. So here whether you are Brahmana, whether you are Grihastha, whether you are young, old, etc. So these are the things that decide karma that you will perform. So Jatya Deen it said. So all these factors which in fact the kind of self-consciousness that you have, I am so and so. So that self-consciousness or the complex about the self, the notion about the self that arises from the identification with Upadhi, that notion, the complex or Abhimanam is the reason for karma. Neither the Brahmana nor Atma. Brahmanoham. They would think that as long as you are a Brahmana, you must perform the karma. Vedanta says yes. But as long as you think you are a Brahmana, so long you will perform karma. But Brahmana doesn't belong to Brahmanatvam, doesn't belong to Atma. A very important distinction made here. In that way they are educated also, understand what Veda is teaching. So nimitta means nimitta bhutan jatyadin samparityajya, meaning jatyadi abhimanam parityajya. Abhimanam, notion arising from identification. Then what you should, when you contemplate upon Atma, not as a Brahmana, as what? Karma hetu viruddham yat swarupam shastratah smared. Would you study from Shastra? Yat swarupam, what's swarupa Atma? Karma hetu viruddham. Atma is not karma viruddha. Atmajnana is not karma viruddham. Atmajnana is karma hetu viruddham. What is karma hetu? It is a notion arising from identification. So karam nimitta upamardakam suddhatma swarupam. In fact, knowledge of Atma will eliminate all the notions which are the reason for performing karma. Karma nimitta upamardakam. Upamardakam. So that which destroys or removes karma nimitta, the cause for karma, which is abhimana or identification. Which is karma viruddham, shuddha atma swarupam. That the self is ever shuddha, and therefore asangaha, unconnected. They were free from brahmanatva, all kinds of notions it is free from. Who says that? Shastroktam. So this is what we study from Shastra, from the teacher. Tatha smare. So when you contemplate upon Atma, don't contemplate Brahmana, I am Brahmana, I am a Kshatriya. I am Shuddha Atma Swarupa, Shuddha. You are free from all these notions. Anushindayet. So this is how one should contemplate upon oneself. Atma itya upasita, Upanishad says. One should contemplate that I am Atma. This is the way to contemplate. So Shastrata, you contemplate upon the self as unfolded or revealed by Shastra. So next one says, Shastrameva udaharan. So since the teacher said, you contemplate upon the self as Shastra reveals, so what is that Shastra? Shastrameva udaharan. So the teacher quotes here a statement from Shastra or the Upanishads. Smartavyam atmaswarupam vishadayati. The teacher is telling us, enjoining here. Smared. That is a vidhi. The teacher says you should contemplate upon the nature of self as revealed by the Shastra. So therefore, quoting this statement of Shastra now clarifies here as to in what way you should contemplate upon the self. Yes, the nature of Atma is karma nimitta viruddha. It is opposed to the notions of Brahmana. But what is the nature of the Atma? How should I contemplate? Not that I am opposed to Brahmana. Who am I? Therefore, the teacher quotes here the specific statements from the Shastra as to how one should contemplate upon the self. Atmaika sarva bhuteshu tani tasmimscha yatha payyagad vyoma vatsarvam Shukram deeptimadishyate. Atma ekah sarvabhuteshu. Sarvabhuteshu ekah Atma. The self is one in all the beings. Tani tasmimscha, and all beings are in tasmin, in Atma. Atma equally abides in all the beings, and all the beings abide in the Atma. Example, Keyatha. Just as the space abides in all the parts abide in the space abides in or obtains in all the containers like parts, etc., and all the containers are in the space. So this is one, that is the nature of Atma. So the Tika here quotes, Yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyeva anupashyati sarvbhuteshu cha atmanam tato na vijugupsate iti mantrartha purvadhena uchyate. Purva, the previous half, the first line. First line of verse number 9 explains this statement. From, again, Ishavasya Upanishad. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmaneva anupashyati. One anupashyati. One who sees sarvani bhutani atmani. One who sees all the beings in the Atma. Sarvabhuteshu Atmanam, and sees Atma in all the beings. One who sees Atma in all the beings and all the beings in Atma. Therefore the example is very relevant. One who sees space in all the containers and all the containers in space. So in is not in the primary sense. One first thinks that the space is within the part, then realizes the part also is within space. Therefore, the space is free from the idea of within and without, and therefore, what it is that there is a superimposition. Part space itself is the result of the superimposing partness upon the space. But when you realize that space is within, but part also is within space, then the superimposition is no more. It's not Atma is within. Atma pervades everything. That next verse will tell us that. But the sambandha is the adhyastika sambandha. The space appears to be within the part because the partness is superimposed upon the space. Therefore, when you realize that the part also is within the space, realize that your notion that the space is within the part was because of superimposing the partness upon the space. And that's how you see the non-duality of Atma. They are all in me, I am in them, and they are in me. Meaning that they are all superimposed upon I, Asti Bhati Priyam. All names and forms are superimposed upon Asti Bhati Priyam. That's what I am. Tato na vijugupsate, then one becomes free from jugupsa. Gopayadam ichcha, no need to protect oneself, there is no fear. Then second line of verse 9 says, Parijagat vyomatsaram shukram deeptimadishyate. So Tikakar quotes the other mantra from the Ishamasya. Saparyagat shukramakayam abram asnaviram suddhamapaviddam iti mantrartham sarda shlokenaha. So half of this verse and full of next verse. Sarda means 1.5 verses explain this mantra, this part of the mantra. Saparyagat, Parida agat, he reached everywhere, he is all pervasive. Shukram, self-effulgent, shining. Akayam, devoid of the subtle body. Avrinam, asnaviram, devoid of the gross body. Shuddham, devoid of the causal body or ignorance. Apapaviddham, unconnected to or unaffected by papa or sin, papa and punya. So meaning of this mantra is explained in the next 1.5 verses, Parijagat. So second line said, Parijagat vyom vatsarvam shukram deeptimadishyate. Isha akshara yojana. So this is akshara means so shabda yojana in fact. So this is how the anvaya of the words should be. So even that other verse also is explained. So just to sarvani bhutani. Sarvabhuteshu chatmanam sarvabhedeshu aham eka eva atma. That verse from the Ishamasya quoted. The second line of the verse is Sarvabhuteshu chatmanam anupashyati. So wise person sees the self in all the beings. How does he see? Sarvabhuteshu aham eka eva atma. In all the beings, I am the one non-dual self. Means what? Na chetana veda asti. There is no veda or division in consciousness, chetanam. Veda divisions are there in the bhutas, in the upadis, not in the self. Tari kim bhutani adhikaranam atmanah. Sarva bhuteshu cha atmanam. The self in all the beings. So bhuteshu, seventh case, adhikarana saptami. Does it mean that Atma is in all the beings? How does the wise person see? I am in all the beings. Does he see the self in all the beings? The seventh case, adhikarana saptami, does he see the self in the beings? He says no. Tani tasmin, they are also in him. So he sees himself in them and then sees them in himself. That is how he sees. So tani tasmin means what? Tani cha bhutani tasmin atmaneva adhyastani. So sambandha is not the adhikarana saptami. His sambandha is the adhishthanam adhyaropa. I am in all of them, meaning that they are all superimposed upon me. They are all in me, meaning again, they are all superimposed upon me. So this is a master stroke by the Vedantin. Because grammatically it is adhikarana saptami. But in reality the sambandha is not adhikarana and adhikruta or it is what is adhara adheya. It is the adhisthana and the adhyaropa. Tani cha bhutani tasmin atmani eva adhyasthani na tatah prasag vartante. Otherwise the flower is on the table. Table is adhikaranam and flower is different. So adheya is different from adhara. But no. Atma adhyasthani na tatah prasag vartante. All the beings are superimposed upon the Atma, therefore they do not have a separate existence of their own. They are because Atma is, because I am. Tathacha swadhyasta sakala vikara anusuta satta sfuti rupo vikara upamardena anusandeha ityartha. So how should we contemplate upon Atma? Swadhyasa sakala vikara anusyuta satta sfuti rupa vikara upamardena anusandeha. That I am, in spite of my being in all the bhutas, the vikaras all belong to bhutas, the names and forms, upadis, and I, who is the very locus of all these bhutas, I am nirvikara. Because there is no sanyoga. This saptami is not adhikarana saptami or sanyoga, it is the adhyast adhyasa. Tataha swadhyasta sakala vikara anusyuta satta sfuti rupaha. In all the beings there are two things. Upadi, one is all the vikara, the birth and growth and so forth. Other is asti, bhati, priyam. So that is why the viveka comes. That I am nirvikara, the vikara all belongs to upadi, I am simply asti, bhat, anusyutaha. Like sutre manigana eva, just as in a thread, all the manis, all the motis, etc., the pearls are woven similarly also. These vikaras are all woven into I just equally abide as satta sfurati, sustaining all of them. So vikara upamardena anusandeha. All the vikaras belong to upadhi, and therefore when I contemplate upon I, who am I? I am one who is devoid of all the vikaras or modifications. So for that example is keyatha iti. Antas sushir rupena vi avakashur vartamane akasha. how the space is both inside and outside. Antaha sushir rupena. So the space obtains within the pot also as a hollow, which is contained within the pot. Bahihi avakasha rupena. And outside also is all pervading space. So space is an example of explaining how the space, in spite of supposedly being in the pot, remains free from all the modifications or the form or the limitations of the pot. बहि वर्तमाने आकाशे यथा भूत संबंधः तथा इत्यर्थः. So relationship that a pot etc. has with Akasha is the kind of relationship that the Upadhi has with the Atma. So that's how the first line of that verse number 9 is explained. Then Paryagat Vyomat Sarvam Shukram Deeptimadishyate, second line is explained. So Paryagat, Pariagat explains. Paryagat Vyomat Sarvam Paryagat. Like the space pervades everything, so also Atma pervades everything like space. So says Tika, Vyomat like space. How does space pervade? Pariyagat means Pariagat. It reached everywhere. Agat. It reached everywhere. Looks like pervading is a Kriya. That space reached everywhere. Atma reached everywhere. So Atma reached everywhere and pervaded everything. So in pervading, some kind of Kriya seems to be implied there. Says no, Swasatta Matrena. Not that space being pervaded by space. Space is not an action on the part of space, it is just being on the part of space. So we call it pervading, as though space pervades everything. But to pervade something, there is no action or any kind of a thought or a sankalpa involved on the part of the space. It's just to be. Just space being by what it is, we think it pervades, Like sun illumines. Not that there is any kind of an action of illumination part of sun. So space pervades, not that to pervade, because it's a verb. To pervade is a verb and therefore to involve an action. So space pervades everything, so you think that space performs the action of pervading. Says no, satta mata. Even though you say it pervades, or it pervaded, Pariyagat, Atma pervaded, space pervaded, to pervade is an action. And therefore, as though the space performs some action to pervade everything, says no, satta matrena. Pariyagat, Pariagat, Pari Samantat, Agat, Gatavan. Just by being what it is, space reached everything, pervaded everything. And therefore, it reached everything. Agat. Sarvam. Pariyagat, Vyomat Sarvam. Ashesham. Without exception. Not that space has some kind of also a discrimination that I'll pervade here, not pervade there. Without exception. So Ishavasam, Idam Sarvam, Yat Kincha Jagatyam Jagat, whatever there is in Jagat is pervaded by Isha, by Lord. Atmana na kinchid avyaptamasti ityartha. See, if vyapti or pervading for an action, then action will be going on. In that case, it is possible that something still remains not pervaded because he is pervading everything, and so there could be something that is not yet pervaded. Says no. Na kinchit avyaptamasti. Even though you say it pervades, in fact there is nothing that is not pervaded by Atma. Means just a space, is all inclusive of all the containers also, all inclusive of all the beings. Tathaja Brahmanam, this idea is well explained by Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Na anainena kinchana anavrutam, nainena kinchana asamvrutam iti. Na enena, it says, na enena kinchana anavrutam, avrutam, covered, anavrutam, uncovered. In negative it is said, na enena kinchana anavrutam. There is nothing that is not covered by Atma. Means the being is covered. Na enena kinchan asamvrutam. Samvrutam is pervaded. There is nothing that is not pervaded by Atma. So that is called Brahmana because the passage, a Kandika, part of Kandika from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Brahmana Upanishad. The point is that the Brahmana confirms what the mantra says, and so the Brahmana is quoted as an explanation of mantra. Second line of verse 9 says, Shukram diptimadishyate saparijagat Shukram. What is Shukram? Diptimat. So Shukram is mantra padam. Shukram is mantra saparijagat Shukram. So Tika says Shukra is mantra padam. In the words where Shukra is the word from the mantra. And the mantra, the word explains Deeptimat, Tasya Vyakhyanam, Deeptimatadi. So what is meant by the word Shukram is Deeptimat, effulgent, shining, self-effulgent. Prakasha Swabhavam, meaning of the nature of Prakasha or consciousness. Shuddham tadatma swarum ishyate ityartha. Therefore, in spite of pervading everything, and everything being pervaded by that, everything in it also, it is Shuddham, not affected by any vikaras. So sustaining everything, it remains ever pure, Shuddham. This is how one should contemplate upon oneself. Then only you can afford to be equal in everything if you are not affected by what you are pervading, otherwise you can't afford. Bhagavan also cannot afford to primarily pervade, otherwise he will be tainted by the punya papa of everything. He doesn't. So Atma does not. Then Tika further says, Avranam asnavinam di padayoha samaha saparijagat shukram akayam avranam asnaviram shuddham apapavidham. Of that part, avranam asnaviram iti padayoha samaha, first of all. So the next verse is 10th verse. Vranasnavyorabhavena स्थूलं देहं निवारयेत् शुद्धापापतया लेपम् लिंगं चाकायमित्युत. व्रणस्नाव्योः अव्रणम् अस्नाविरम्. So, avranam asnaviram, vranasnavyoho, snavyoho abhavena. This is vrana means wound. No snaviram meaning no snayu, sinew they call it. So, without that, meaning the Atma is described as devoid of any wound, vrana, and any muscles. So, what is it? Abhava, sthulam deham nivarayet. By these two words, the Upanishad says that Atma is devoid of sthula deha or the gross body. Because the wound and the muscles, etc., all belong to the gross body. So, the Upalakshanam, it stands for every other thing, aspect of the gross body. Shuddha apapataya alepam lingam cha akayam iti uta. Akayam, Akayam means free of devoid of kaya, that shows the freedom from linga sharira or subtle body. Shuddha apapataya alepam. Shuddham apapaviddham. So mantra says, so Shuddham apapavidha apapataya alepam. Untainted by papa and punya. So this is how one should contemplate upon oneself. So Tika says, so vrana snavayo abhavena. So vrani kshata means vranam or the injury. Shirajala, that means it is snayu. And so Shirajala means all these muscles, etc. Nirasena, so by nirasa or denying the presence of this thing in Atma, sthula dehatmatvam atma aposhyamityartha, sthulam deham nivarayet. This is what one should do. See, nivarayet is the vidhi, that may you remove the idea of the sthula deha, the gross body in the Atma, in yourself. Sthula dehatmatvam atma aposhyamiti. The Atma is devoid of sthula deha. This is what one should see. So that is the explanation of avranam asnaviram. Then Shuddham apapaviddham iti anayovarsamaha. Again mantra says Shuddham apapaviddham. So the second line is Shuddha apapataya alepam. That Shuddhoham, I am ever pure. Atma is pure, I am pure. In what sense? Ragari doshahinam. Devoid of the defects of raga, dvesha, attachment, aversions, which is impurity. Ataheva apapam. Therefore, I am nishpapaha. I am devoid of papa of the sin. Ya atma apahda papma. So papa also includes punya. Punya papa hinam. So not only Atma is devoid of papa or sin, but also devoid of the punya, because that also involves kartatva. So not only devoid of rajoguna, tamoguna, also devoid of sattva-guna. Tasmat karan abhavena sukha dukkhadi tad anubhava samskara lepa hinamityartha. So what happens is that papa, punya, the karma, creates the karma phala, so creates samskara. When you perform an action, the result is in the form of samskara now, which in course of time will result into the actual situation. So when I perform a karma, then I do not get the experience, the result right away. Karma creates samskara. That samskara will then become mature like a seed in a given time and place and result into an experience called sukha dukkha. So sukha dukkha or pleasure and pain that we experience now are the result of the samskaras, impressions left in my mind because of the karma that I performed in the past. So I perform a karma that leaves samskaras or impressions. They manifest as actual circumstances of pleasure and pain. Tasmat karana abhadeva. Because karanam, karma is not there, punya papa is not there. Sukha dukkhadi. So punya karma would have given rise to sukham. Papa karma would have given rise to dukkham. If the samskaras are there, tat anubhava samskara lepahinam. But karma is not there, karma samskara is not there, so sukha dukkha are not there, and therefore Atma is untainted completely by any karma or papa viddham, by papa or punya. So therefore this shloka explains that mantra. Shuddha apapataya alepam. Then lingam akayamityuda. Akayamiti mantrapadena sukshma dehatmada nirasaniya iti. Saparijagat shukram akayam. Akayam means bodiless. But here it means subtle body. Akayamiti mantrapadena. Padam, that word akayam comes from mantra. Sukshma dehatmada nirasaniya. Sukshma dehatmada. The Atma is Sukshma Deha. Or Sukshma Deha is Atma Nirasaniya. That idea must be given up that Atma is devoid of the subtle body as well. So that's why the sloka says Lingam cha akayamiti uttara iti duta. So Nivarayat is Sarvatra Anushangaha. Therefore, Lingam Nivarayat. Sulam Deham Nivarayat. Lingam Nivarayat. Atmani. Sthula, Sukshma, Deha, Tatkarya, Tadvasanabhya. So what is now, Upanishad says, Atma is free from, so Asnaviram, Avranam, Asnaviram, when it is said there, that means it is devoid of the gross body. Then it says Akayam, devoid of the subtle body. Then Apapa Vidham, devoid of Papa and Punya. So Karma and Samskaras, born of Karma, and experiences of Sukha Dukha, born of the Samskaras, devoid of all of this. So Nivarayat. Sukhi I am not, Dukhi I am not. So Sukhitvam should be given up. Nivarayat. It should be also let go. Dukhitvam, let go. Gross body, that I am Brahmana, let go. I am subtle body, that you have to let go. So this is process of negation. So the neti process is explained here. How when I think of I, automatically all these, the habitual identification, the gross and subtle bodies is involved there. Therefore I think of myself as a karta, bhokta, sukhi, dukhi, tall, short. These are the habitual, conclusions about the self. And so this mantra says, what you are not. So when the mind comes up with the idea, Brahmaham, I am not. So tall I am not. Papi I am not. Punyavanaham, I am not. And that way, Nivarayat, Nivarana means that give up. Let go. Sthula, Sukshma. So overall, what did this mantra and these verses told us? Sthula, Sukshma, Deha. Sthula Deha, I am not. Sukshma Deha, I am not. Tat Karya, the Karya, the actions performed by this Punya Papa, that I am not. Tad Vasana, the Samskaras caused by that karma, I am not. Vyavruttah, I have no connection with them. Suddham, Apavavidham. Then what remains is Samaha, Ekaha, Aparichinna Atma iti. Samah, equally obtaining in all the Vishama bodies. Samam, Sarveshu Bhuteshu, Tishthantam, Parameshwaram, Vinashatsu, Avinashyantam. So all the beings or bodies or bhutas are all Vishama. They are all disparate. They are all different from each other, unequal or dissimilar. In them I abide, same I abide. So Bhagavad Gita also said that Sunun Mitra Yudasina Madhyasa Dvesha Bandhushu, etc. Samaha. So very beautiful thing. That I am equal in all the beings, regardless of what the names and forms are, what the nature of gross and subtle bodies are, what the upadhis, what punya papas are there, what samskaras are there, what karmas are there. Not only about me. This applies to everybody. When I am judging other people also. When I judge myself, I should know this is what I am. When I judge other people also, I should know that this is all incidental. The gross body is incidental, subtle body is incidental, punya papa is incidental, samskara is incidental, vasana is incidental. But then Sukha Dukkha incidental, this is all incidental. Prakriti keeps doing this. But in spite of this all happening at the level of Prakriti, and even when all this is happening, the Atma, which is supposed to be the very adhikaranam or the locus of the Prakriti, is nevertheless unaffected by them. So there's a wonderful vision that is given to us as to how to understand the life. Not that gross body is not there, that subtle body is not there, that karma is not there, that punya bhava is not there, sukha dukkha is not there, Vedanta doesn't say they are not there. They are not there where you think they are. I think they are all in me, and that's how I judge myself constantly. As gross, subtle, fat, lean, tall, brahmana, kshatriya, sukhi, dukkhi, papi, punyavan. This superimposition constantly happens. And others are different, I am different. That division also constantly happens. Meaning that on account of the identification of upadhi and giving reality to upadhi, how these divisions are built into my mind, how my thinking is constantly influenced by this. So Upanishad says, all this is there where it is. It is not where you think it is. Yes, gross body is there, subtle body is there, karma is there, punya bhava is there, vasana is there, sukha dukkha is there, ignorance is there. It's all there. Not that it is not there. Not that there is no existence. Not that nothing is to be done by you, etc. That is not the point. Karma is not the point. Is jnanam, understanding is the point. Then do what if there is anything to be done, that's a secondary thing. So karma is in any case a secondary thing because doing or not doing does not affect Atma. So this is how you should contemplate upon yourself, and therefore also contemplate upon everybody else. By the way, not only I am like that, everybody is like that because Atma is one. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu, equally abiding in all of them. I am nishpapa, I am shuddha, apava vidya, and so is everything and everybody. So samaha ekaha aparichchannatma iti sada chintayet. That I am samaha, equally abiding on all, aparichchannaha, free from all parichcheda, limitations. Because limitations, divisions, manyness, dissimilarities, all at the level of the name and form. Atma I am, so Atma ityeva upasita. That's the Vidya Vakyam. That this is how one should contemplate upon Atma. Ityartha. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeri Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.